and welcome to today's episode of The Man Who Knows Everything, and that is me. So we had a really good time today talking about Leonardo da Vinci, and we had loads of messages from Finn because he got loads of facts that he'd found out that I didn't mention, because as we know, I do know everything. There are just facts that I don't mention. So any fact that you do find out, I do know it. Honest. So today is Earth Day. Not my birthday, Earth Day. And in fact, it's not just any old Earth Day, it's the 50th Earth Day since it began. So, what better way to talk about climate change and 10 facts about Earth Day and the environment? So, here goes. First of all, fact number one of the biggest contributors to climate change is the burning of fossil fuels. So a lot of industry uses this. So burning things like oil, gas, petrol, those kind of things, and they contribute to greenhouse gases. Now, what we mean by that is when you burn fossil fuels, they produce a gas that goes into the atmosphere and it creates like a bit of a blanket over the earth, and it traps the heat of the earth so the heat can't escape, which contributes to global warming. So that's what the greenhouse effect is known as. So just like if you've ever been in a greenhouse, the temperature's a lot hotter, so you can grow things like tomatoes and exotic fruits that you can't normally grow in the UK because it's a bit too cold. So with climate change, the temperature of the earth is getting hotter because of the burning of fossil fuels, because of this greenhouse effect. So number one is the fact that one of the biggest contributors to climate change is the burning of fossil fuels. Fact number two is another contributor is farming. Now, you might just think about how on earth does farming contribute to it, because they don't use fossil fuels that much. So I don't understand. Well, it's all to do with cows. So dairy farming and farming for meat and stuff like that contributes an awful lot to greenhouse gases as well, because another greenhouse gas is methane. Now, this is quite a fun fact because the cows produce methane from their stomachs, because when they're eating, methane is produced inside them and it gets released into our atmosphere by, you've guessed it, trumps. So when a cow trumps or burps, it releases that methane into the air. Now, you might not think, well, they can't be doing that much because there's only a cow. How much can a trump hurt? Well, there are over 1.5 billion cows across the globe. So when you think about all of that methane, contributes an awful lot to the greenhouse effect. So that is why farming is my fact number two. One of the biggest reasons of climate change is farming contributors to climate change. Fact number three is kind of linked to the last one. It's all to do with deforestation. So we need oxygen to breathe, but we also need something to take out all of them greenhouse gases from the atmosphere. A big greenhouse gas is carbon dioxide, and obviously plants use carbon dioxide to breathe it in, and they release oxygen into the atmosphere. So we need plants to be able to absorb all of those greenhouse gases, the carbon dioxide that's contributed to climate change. And one of the biggest forests in the world is in the Amazon rainforest, and it's been chopped down. Now, it's been chopped down for loads of different reasons, and one of them is farming. So they need places to farm things. So they chop down the forest and use the ground as a farm. But they also build roads, they found oil mines, all kinds of stuff there. So deforestation, number three, is a big contributor to climate change because carbon dioxide needs to be absorbed by those plants, and if those plants aren't there, they can't absorb it. So, fact number four on Earth Day is all about plastics. And my fact is that 50%, that's half of all of the plastic that is created, is single-use plastic. So over half of all the plastic that's ever made is designed to be used just once. And that's a big problem because obviously once you've used it once, chuck it away. And plastic takes 400 years to decompose. So it doesn't rot away, it just stays there for 400 years, which is a really, really, really long time. So if you can, see if you can reuse plastic instead. But we'll come on to some little tips a little bit later on. So, fact number 5 is all about the bees on Earth Day, because the bees are a really big, important role in the food that we eat. Now, you might not think, well, I don't eat bees, so I don't understand how they can be part of our food chain. But what happens is lots of fruits and vegetables and plant-based food is not grown by the bees, but the bees help to pollinate the other plants, and that's how the fruit is made. Because a little bee will come along to one flower, it'll drink the nectar what the bees eat, then it will catch the pollen on its legs, and as it flies to the next plant, it'll pollinate that plant. And once that plant is pollinated, that's when fruit is made. And obviously, we eat the fruit, so without the bees, you can't have any apples, you can't have any oranges, you can't have any bananas, you can't have any wheat to make bread and all that kind of stuff. So we need bees, and bees are really important. And over the past 15 years, colonies of bees have been disappearing, and in some places in the world, over 90% of their bees have gone. So we need to do everything we can to save the bees, because they're really important. Fact number 6, and this is 6. This is where we come on to some little tips, because I thought it might be quite useful in these facts, rather than just talking about climate change, what we can do to help stop it. The first one is to turn off the taps, because I reckon there's a lot of people when they're cleaning their teeth, first thing in the morning, last thing at night, sometimes at lunch if you've had something stinky, leave the taps on. Well, you leave the tap running while you're cleaning your teeth, well, turn it off. You don't sit on the toilet and flush the toilet constantly, do you? No. So wet your toothbrush, brush your teeth, and then rinse the sink out afterwards. So don't just leave it running when you're brushing your teeth. So turn off the taps when you don't need them. Number 7 is to reduce our plastic consumption, because we've talked about what a problem single-use plastics are. So things like saying no to plastic straws, just drink it from a cup instead. Maybe you could get a reusable bottle rather than having plastic bottles for your water. So in fact, I've got one right here. Ta-da, that's mine. Now, some of them can be quite expensive, but you don't need an expensive bottle. You can just get a cheap one, but make sure it ain't plastic, and then you can reuse it, refill it from water at home, and saving all that money on bottled water anyway, you'll make the money back that you spent on your reusable bottle. Don't use plastic bags either. You can take your own bag to the supermarket, to the shops, get yourself a nice little tote bag, put your shopping in there, and that's fine. Now, sometimes it's unavoidable to use plastic. Like, we can't help it. But just make sure you don't litter. So make sure your rubbish does go in the bin, and if you have used some plastic, see if it can be recycled instead. Fact number 8 is to do with switching stuff off. Now, I know that you're all really good at switching the lights off when you've gone out of a room, but you might notice when you switch those lights off, there are little glowing lights on gadgets, like green lights and little red lights, and what that's telling you, that is in standby mode. So it's going to be a lot better for the environment and a lot better for your bills, your electricity bill. If you switch it off at the wall, because it's using a little bit of power to charge that little bit of the light to power it. So switch your gadgets off at the wall when you're not using them, and you'll save a lot of electricity, and it's much better for the environment. Then, a little fact about Earth Day, what is today. To celebrate Earth Day, it's just a day to have conversations and think about what you can do to help the Earth and help the environment. And in 2011, there were 28 million trees planted in Afghanistan in honour of Earth Day. So that is fact number 9. And finally, fact number 10 is obviously today is the 50th anniversary of Earth Day. And the first one was in 1970 on April 22nd. And on the very first Earth Day, what happened was there were 20 million people in America gathered in the streets to protest in the industrial stuff that was happening about them oil burning these fossil fuels. So 20 million people got together and said, no, we can't use these fossil fuels. We need to think about something different. And in 1990, 20 years later, that's when Earth Day was recognised as a special day across the globe by the United Nations. And that's why we still talk about it and celebrate it today. So have a think about what you can do to help the environment on Earth Day, it kind of ties into yesterday's topic, which was creativity and innovation. You might come up with some new ways of doing things to maybe save a bit of plastic, save a bit of electricity and not waste water, all those different things. So let me know what facts you had if you've got a fact about Earth Day, or maybe some suggestions about what we can do to help climate change. Stick it in the comments below and I'll have a look at those later on. And tomorrow's topic, I thought we could look at the Arctic, because a lot of climate change is affecting the Arctic and the ice caps are melting and all that stuff. So tomorrow's topic is the Arctic. So I'll see you tomorrow, 1 o'clock. You've got 24 hours to do some research around the Arctic. Maybe it's knowledge you've got. Maybe you can look in some books, or maybe you can get an adult to help you look at it on the internet. So see what you can do. And I will see you tomorrow. If you've got any suggestions about topics you might like to challenge me on, stick that in the comments as well. I'll see you later on. Have a good day. Stay safe. Stay creative.